Greetings and salutations, YouTube. I'm making this video primarily to help newer players to Final Fantasy XIV that are coming from WoW, the WoW refugees, in hopes that while there are some guides out there that explain the jobs and the story and all that stuff, they don't particularly help with sort of the smaller things, things that might impact the game that you wouldn't on the surface see or think about. I've been playing Final Fantasy for about 2.5 weeks now, and overall I found it quite enjoyable. There are some things that detract and some things I don't particularly like, but overall I found this to be a very, very well put together game. The game starts out kind of slow, and unfortunately it's a very, very long sort of introduction process. It doesn't sort of jump you into the game like WoW does, so it does take some getting used to, and it does feel very slow to start with, especially because you're walking everywhere, even with sprint, and you will be using sprint for the entire thing. Up until you get your mount around level 20, you will be sprinting every chance you get, because otherwise you're just walking, and it does get really bothersome. The leveling is fairly good. There is a lot you can do, not necessarily just quests, which is nice. It helps change it up so you're not just doing stories and quests. There's also fates and leaves. Initially, when I was leveling, I had to look up how to, or more ways to get experience, because there just wasn't enough quests per level to get me to the full level, so you'll have to supplement them with leaves and fates. They are actually better than the quests, they give more, but that being said, they are either, in the case of leaves, dailies, or with fates, they're on the map and in areas, so you'd have to get there and do them. One of the big differences between WoW and Final Fantasy is you have to unlock everything. This includes your mount, as well as some of the optional areas, like the gold saucer. Usually these are through quests with a blue icon and a plus sign. They're very telling. You'll see them all over the area, because everything, any professions, any class changes, anything, these are just everywhere, because if you literally want to do anything, you pretty much have to unlock it. These quests don't necessarily tell you or get you to do what they're unlocking, but they do tell you through the tutorial menu. That being said, it can be annoying because these people are not like the commoners in WoW that are in every city. They are only in one place, and so for a lot of them you'll have to travel to the one place in order to find them in order to unlock the place. So it can be a very roundabout way of doing things. Overall, the UI is quite helpful in that, especially with the map, a lot of the stuff is labeled. You can really find your way quite easily and find who you're looking for, because you just simply mouse over the quests and it'll tell you what they are. So if you know the quest you're looking for, it's quite easy to find it. Another thing is they add the coordinates, so that if you look up something online and they've given the coordinates, you can actually, travel with your cursor and figure out where that person is, rather than relying on an add-on or something like that. The action bars, as you see, are quite large, and overall this was a big change from WoW. I did not like it initially, but overall I have gotten used to it. It is nice at the same time. It does also take up a lot of the screen, so it can be rather annoying, especially when you can trigger the abilities even if you're just standing in the middle of town, so it does get a little awkward sometimes. Two differences between WoW and Final Fantasy is the global cooldown is much larger. It's about 2.5 seconds between each cast. Now this doesn't include abilities. There will be some where you can cast them, even though your main attacks are on cooldown. These typically are your abilities, not your magic attacks or regular attacks. The other thing is the aggro radius is quite small. It's quite easy to run away from things, which is nice because you can pretty much get away from something and then do whatever it is you need to do. This is nice for exploring the areas. A big difference, especially for those hunters of WoW, is that every class gets their chocobo, or chocobo, however you want to say it, and that can act as your pet or companion while you're questing. It can be very helpful, especially for, say, a tank or healing class, because the chicken can do either of those jobs for you. I don't know particularly how well. I don't particularly use it, but it's there if you need it, and it can be nice. There's lots you can do with your chicken. You can dress him up. If you get barding, there's different ways to get barding. And then you can also level it to specific talents, which is neat in that regard. As far as leveling goes, as I said, the Palace of the Dead is what I've been talking about, and it has been probably the best way to level as far as time. You can pretty much get a level for about 20 floors. You unlock it at level 17, and I will show the NPC who has the quest. It is probably the best way to level. You don't have to, but it is the quickest. As far as the gear goes, you do get some from questing, but you can also buy the gear from vendors. I know in WoW, you look at the vendors and you see the white gear, and it's like it's not worth it after you've done questing. But here, the vendors do tend to keep up with your level, so you can buy the gear. It is lower quality than what you might find in a quest, especially later on. You'll find that they get the sort of an upgrade system similar to Draenor, I believe it was, where you could upgrade the armor. And so you don't necessarily have to worry about, say, if you go and do something like the Palace or the Leaves, you won't get gear from there, but you can buy the gear to maintain that kind of level or power. Like the Palace of the Dead, the Gold Saucer is another optional area. Basically, it's the Darkmoon Fair on steroids. It's always accessible, and there is a lot you can do there. There's even sort of mini games to help you get the currency, which I believe is MGP. It can be quite amusing. There is some events that can get you some more, and then there are the main ones, the Triple Triad, the Cactpot, and a couple of the others, including Chocobo Racing. Again, all of these you'll have to unlock through quests, but they are there at the saucer. It can be a neat place to just hang out, especially if you're just waiting for queues or whatever. So it can be worth unlocking. You can do that at level 15, I believe. And it is not a bad place, especially in comparison to the Darkmoon Fair. The big draw to the Gold Saucer is the sort of stuff you can buy there. The main thing being a Fenrir mount. It's one of the bosses from one of the later dungeons, and it looks very nice. But it does cost 1 million of the currency there, which is a lot, and you don't necessarily get that much for any given task. It does take some time. You can get lucky with the Cactpot, but overall, I've found that it's probably going to take you a while. As far as transmog goes, once you unlock it, which I believe is also level 15, later on at Horizon, I believe, is that you'll need these glamour prisms. Basically, most crafters can make them. You're usually on the auction house, which is called the market board in this game. I basically just bought a stack of 99 and just keep them with me, because you'll basically spend one for every piece of armor. So it's similar to the cost of the transmog, but it's an item rather than just gold. Occasionally throughout your leveling experience, you'll see these random creatures that have a sort of quest marker above their heads, and these are typically associated with the hunting logs. It's another way to get experience. It's not a huge amount, but it is nice because it will give you a bonus simply for killing these creatures. There is also some promotional items as far as with your Grand Company. Again, this is all stuff you have to unlock, but once you do, it can help you get be another way to level rather than through quests or other ways. It doesn't really matter which Grand Company you choose, you'll get the same seals either way. They are ubiquitous. I believe you can use them for every single one. You get them from Leaves, Fates, doing quests for these companies, and you will find that if you don't know how to increase the limit, you will max out quite quickly. And so I found that if you go to one of the NPCs, you can ask for a promotion or apply for a promotion. As long as you fill out the requirements, which I believe in theory for the first few is just getting enough storm steels, that's the way to expand it, and it's very helpful. I found that I spent some storm steals early because I didn't know where to spend them or how to spend them or what they were worth. So, as you know, from experience, I would say use the promotion, and that way, then you're not really wasting them. So then you can fill them out and then make more to apply for more promotions. It's just progression. Overall, I've enjoyed the game quite thoroughly. There are some things as far as with the Mog Station, the shop, that you can buy things. You can buy boosts. They'll put you up to level 60. That being said, they don't put your character through the story, and to get through a lot of stuff, to unlock stuff like your mount, you have to go through the story. Again, you can buy the story basically completed for you through an item, which is not a terrible idea if you just want to skip the entire thing. It'll put you up to the Stormblood or the current content, which is not a terrible thing, but I guess to help you get the lay of the land, it is up to you if you want to do it or not. But do know that if you do boost, it won't necessarily put you at level 60 completely. You won't have unlocked all the different stuff, all the areas that you would through the story and through other means. So it is something to be aware of. I hope this video helps new players adjust to the game a little bit easier, as well as maybe not make as many mistakes as I did early on. Hopefully, if you're aware of this stuff, then it's not necessarily as big of an issue, and it doesn't set you back as much. Not that it's necessarily much to get back and get on track, but it can be quite daunting, especially when there isn't necessarily a huge amount of hand-holding as far as unlocking everything. That was the big thing for me, was finding everywhere that I needed to go in order to unlock these areas. So I hope that this helps. Any questions, please put them in the comments below, and thanks for watching.